Hi, this is the Academic Career Check-in, and I'm Dominic. I'm a full professor and an academic career coach, and in this short live session, I take one issue I encounter in my coaching practice or my own academic life, extract one useful insight, and share it with you. No long lectures, just small, concrete ideas you can test in your own academic life. So if you like that idea, just subscribe so that you do not miss the next session. All right, so hi and welcome. Great that you're back to this live session. Today, the headline would be how to organize academic conferences in order to position yourself in the field and become visible. Because that's what I'm currently experimenting a lot with. Just as I'm speaking here in this live session, I'm actually also in parallel at a virtual conference that I've built. We have over 150 attendees, and well, it really helps me to position myself in a new area that I previously was not known for. So yeah, I'll tell you more about that in a second. But first, I really just want to give the bird's eye view of how this actually matters. Visibility isn't just about publications, of course, right? Publications can help you in becoming visible in the field, but visibility is actually associated with a certain space in the field that is broader than just publications. And conferences or any other types of events in the academic domain can help you create structured visibility in a rather fast way. So in this session, I've planned to cover about 3 things. It's not like I have a clear plan ahead, but I want to certainly talk about why this works. So what is the mechanism behind it? Get a bit into how to run a first version of whatever that event could be. I have a very broad idea of what it could be. We could be talking about very micro level events, small events, but also bigger events. So like the one that I'm currently hosting, 150 people, that is certainly one of a medium or bigger size event. And then, of course, it's also about how to harvest this, how convert this exposure and this visibility that you get into invitations, collaborations, without being too salesy, because that's obviously something that we as academics don't like to do, right? So, and maybe as a coach also, and also as a supervisor, I just want to add a few words of motivation here, because I've seen very strong PhDs and postdocs that stay largely invisible, not because of a lack of talent, obviously. I mean, they're really, people with strong research skills and everything, but they don't really have a platform. And I get it. This is not a term that we like to use in academia, because, academia and the merits, of course, shouldn't be based on having a platform or not. But I think this still is a useful term, not really in terms of, okay, how many people are your platform in terms of that will read your paper or that you can sell your idea to, but rather as who are your potential collaborators, for instance. Who would invite you to a special issue? Who would invite you to a book chapter? Who would invite you to co-create something, okay? Maybe also a funding proposal and that kind of stuff. So in that sense, platform could be immensely important. I think social capital is maybe the number one driver for academic careers. And actually, that's not only my thought here, but that is really something that we do see in the literature, right? Right. So as I said, this is like a quick live session. I just want to drop some insights that I've gained, especially now. I'm like really pumped because the conference that I'm organizing currently is running so well, and I've just been to a few sessions. It's working flawlessly because my network also of moderators is taking care of it right now, so that I can just get out of the conference for a bit to actually record this session. All right. So from this perspective, I just want to show you how this works. So in the end, I don't want to present you something formal in terms of like how to organize an academic conference in those steps or whatever. Um, this is just a recipe that works in like real academic life. There's no formal structure to this. Okay. So um, I over like my academic life of just more than 10 years, I've organized numerous events. And there are few events that really stand out in my memory because they allowed me to really position myself in a field that was, well, which I wasn't a part of in the beginning, or sometimes it was actually a field that I kind of founded. For instance, there's this instance of mixed method social network analysis. I clearly associate this with one meeting that we had back in 2018, I believe it was, a small group of 20 people funded by a research association. And we really helped to define and position this concept within the education sciences. And the interesting thing, of course, is not only that we as a group positioned it, but I was the one hosting it. So I really gained a lot from this position. So that is the first takeaway, basically. So what's the mechanism behind this? Why do conferences help to position yourself? And the thing is, there is this saying in a way, and maybe I'm just making this up now, but you don't just want to enter a room, right? You don't want to enter the field, the academic field. You want to kind of own that field. And I don't mean this in any way of you being you taking this like complete like ownership in that sense, but really what you want, that if people think about this particular field, they're thinking about you. You get this kind of guru status, okay? And yeah, certainly a publication track record is extremely helpful for that, and of course there's a bare minimum that you need to have in order to be eligible, so to speak. But once you have this baseline, it is much more also about other things, because there are different types of contributing to a field. Yes, this can be research itself, but it can also be about creating connections between people of that field, right? So conferences in that sense are a great infrastructure for attention in a way, yeah? Conferences help to set agendas. Conferences define roles. Conferences, of course, create visibility moments. And this is what I'm talking about here. Okay, so what I do see in my coaching also is you don't want to view yourself as an attendee of that field or of that conference, right? There's a very different mindset if you view yourself as a host of course, the conference, but also as a kind of a host of that field. You are not only following a research agenda, but you are curating that agenda. You're creating that agenda. That is a very different mindset, and I think that's applicable to a conference and also to a field, an academic field as a whole, right? So by hosting, and you're kind of creating multiple touch points with other people, right? There are invites that you're sending. Hey, do you want to give a talk at that conference? Hey, do you want to review for that conference? Do you want to attend that conference, etc.? You're making introductions. Not only are you introducing people to yourself, that would be a bit egotistical, but also you're making introductions, you're making connection between people, right? Just think about this. At this conference that I'm currently organizing, 150 people. So there are many touch points, just in a very formal way, because I have been in the inbox for each of those 150 participants in the last 10 days or so, daily by one email, just presenting the agenda, etc. And I will be for the next 5 days, because that's how long the conference is running. And then there are follow-ups, etc. So there is a quite good chance that my name sticks and people associate me with that field, irrespective of my academic output in that particular field. And that's just a starting point. These are just the seeds. What I'm really interested in, of course, is shared projects. And there are a few in the making already, some follow-up projects, funded projects. If some of them work, there will be very strong connections with me and other individuals of that conference. So that is, as I think, a very strong case of how this works and of how this is actually useful. Now, as I said, my main motivation here is to establish myself kind of in a new field. So I do have a quite good track record. I like to believe in a variety of fields, like an interdisciplinary career. But now this conference for me is about action research, practitioner research, where I do have some standing, I would say. Especially also like this project here where I'm wearing the shirt right now, the teaching clinic. But it's not like that I made any substantial methodological contributions, for instance, right? So I'm certainly not an expert of practitioner research. I'm more a practitioner of practitioner research, I would say. So I want to enter that field. And by hosting this conference, I also get a very formal opportunity to do so, because I might, as a result of this, might also lead a section in that direction of an academic conference, right? So yeah, this will certainly help me to be linked with this topic. Yeah, I'm a person, maybe one of the main persons of action research / practitioner research, at least in Austria, right? My home country. That is like a very tiny community, of course, but it's something, it's a home base to set out from. But not only that, I'm also a networker, right? I'm creating networks. I help people connect. And also, since the conference is running really well, I'm a person that has some competence. I can execute things. I can make things happen, which is a vital skill, in any field, I would say. So a conference is not an event. It's a career lever that you can just apply to generate force, to generate connections, to generate networks, and many, many other positive effects down the road. So, and this is really something that most people underestimate, right? They think about, oh, it's so much effort to organize the conference, which can be, but I think it doesn't have to be, if you focus on the right things. But they hardly ever look at like what's really coming from that position. Yes, of course, you kind of need to organize a conference once for your CV, to have it maybe for a postdoctoral position. That's kind of accepted, I would say. But there's more value than that, right? This is more than just your CV, and especially that particular line in your CV. So to wrap this up, you need a format. You need a format structure to help you get those benefits, to reap those benefits. And I just want to, give you a very rough blueprint, just as I'm thinking about this, of how you could start, right? Because events, academic events especially, have have very different magnitudes, right? Sometimes it's a 5 people meeting in the sort of colloquium, that's an event already, I think there's a strong history of events like that, because you could actually say like a PhD defense is also an event, where people join you, maybe physically even, and you have some travel budget and everything to discuss something, okay, to have some intellectual exchange. So that could be a very small event already. Or other colloquia sometimes are relatively small. So you can do that. But you can also maybe think about a small roadmap of how you could also scale this from like those very small events to like say mid-size to like 100 people, or even bigger events to 200 people and beyond, right? In the principles that are at work never really change, right? They're always the same. So, so what I see in having organized many of such conferences is that you want it is easy to get into something when you have some novel perspective on something, and when you try to build some momentum early on, because people, they love to be into something, to do for the first time, to be like early contributors to something. For instance, I was organizing also a methodological autumn school once, which also built momentum quite fast. Again, 100, 200 participants very early in the process. And that also have helped me to establish myself as the authority for research methods in a very broad sense, and also in a very local sense. So yeah, just think about how to build this kind of momentum, how you could use this, especially if you're new to this game, because this is something that can really give you leverage. And now I want to share some insights of the Conduct conference that I'm currently organizing, because I have to say there was one very unexpected feeling that I had in the last days, and that was, it actually was super easy. It was not like, oh, I'm buried with work. I'm like, there are many things on my desk right now. There are funding proposals with worth far beyond 1 million currently on my desk, and I've kind of organized this on the side. Didn't take much work. So I just want to present my principles. Why did it feel that easy? First of all, I think it helped that we had a very clear theme. Okay, that wasn't really my effort. It was something that the organization, the association that stands behind it, kind of has this clear theme, and I just adopted it and maybe make it a bit more clearer, maybe actually a bit broader sometimes, to be appealing to different audiences. But that is certainly the easy part, so to speak. Then I had clear roles in that. Conferences are often quite bloated in terms of what kind of formats exist, what roles people take. And I just had a very, simple approach to this from the beginning, minimizing everything so that there's just clarity, and that is just so helpful in order to minimize work. And then, of course, there is this aspect of execution and logistics. And here again, I would say always optimize for simplicity. Just make it as simple as possible, because a conference or any academic event, it's actually about something quite simple in the end, right? It's about creating connection. It's about creating that time, that space for connection, and just optimize for that. You don't need anything else beyond that, to be honest, right? So just zero in on that. So what's one challenge that you need to take care of? I think actually it's exactly what I've just said, essentially, like making the program too complex in a way, just providing tons of different formats that you could be doing, formats of how to present things. Just keep it super simple. What is the one format that would work, like say a standard 10 minutes presentation followed with a 2-minute Q&A session or something? Just stick to that. There's no need to offer the opportunity for symposia. There's no need for roundtables. There's no need for poster presentations and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it certainly can be nice, but why would you do that if you're just starting out with that? Okay. So let's make this a bit more actionable, maybe, right? So you might want to write this down. If you just think about a few weeks, like what would you be doing, right? So my first task for the first week would be to just pick one sharp theme plus one like very tiny slice of the audience that you want to actually cater to. So in one sentence, who should attend your conference and why? And in terms of what's the content, that you're serving, and what's your promise, what you're actually helping them build in a way, which I think should be connections really, because this is what conferences are for, right? But of course, you can be more creative than that. Then just reach out to the people in the field. Just invite like 5 people that you think are important for the field. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they are speakers or something, but just to help you build credibility, that they are on some review board, some steering committee, whatever it is, or help you maybe co-create the whole event. And just make it in a way that it's easy to say yes. Because if there are authorities in the field, this is actually maybe their main contribution, right? They don't need to do a lot of organizing work. It's just that they're there when they need to review something, for instance. You do this in the most simple manner that they don't have any overhead effort, etc. And then, well, you're all maybe in week 3 already, so reach out a bit, announce it to people that there's an event happening, and just try to collect those 10, 20 attendees, whatever the number is that you try to reach. So use your existing channels, like any lab list, whatever your department, use LinkedIn, or of course, just reaching out to friends of friends and associations of the field. And then, whenever you're ready, maybe let's have this 90-minute event of whatever it is, 2 or 3 short inputs, structured discussion, and that's it. Super easy to organize. And then afterwards, you can just have some follow-ups and conversations, and that's it. Super easy. And if you keep this easy, you will just also make it easy for yourself to actually extract a lot of value for yourself. Because the value, as I mentioned, is not really in the event itself, so to speak, although it hopefully is, of course, for the participants. But for you, it's really about being associated as the host of that event, whatever it is. And I get it that this is not the only thing that you're doing, right? Especially if you're like in PhD, Postdoc life, whatever, things are happening. So do this in a way that you can actually do this and it fits into your life. So minimal format, maximum signal. That's what we're looking at, okay? So how to turn this event into visibility, because this is, of course, what we want to do. So the fundamental idea at play here is that visibility is actually a byproduct of service and structure. So you're providing a service, which is the event, and you're providing a structure for visibility, as I've said before, right? So you are not self-promoting. I just want to make, you're not self-promoting, not at all. You're just creating a container for the field. And as a byproduct, people will associate with that container. So let's just to make this clear, let's compare this. Say you engage in some other activity, which is maybe more self-promoting. Say you're posting on LinkedIn or something. So you're posting, probably it's a high volume. There's relatively low control in this context, like who watches this and how do they react. And the attention is quite fleeting. And also there's a lot of competition, right? If you're organizing an event, there's lower volume. I mean, how many events are being organized for a particular academic field per year? That's not a large number. You have high control because you can basically define all the parameters yourself. And then there are compound effects, right? Because you're inviting people that are truly relevant, which make your event more interesting, etc. Yeah. And then there's one additional very nice thing, which especially makes it easy maybe to not go through this alone. But an event is an established entity, and it's something that is it's the currency, I would say, of academic life. And the CV creates roles. There's a host, an organizer, there are chairs in a conference, there are discussants in a conference, and all of those positions are CV able. I mean, of course, the value, the currency might be rather limited, but if you're a PhD, an early stage postdoc, actually you will not care, right? these are legit points to put in your CV, and yeah, that's just like a byproduct of the byproduct. So why not take it? Yeah. All right. So I've of course you, dear audience, are not the first that I talk about this. So whenever I bring up this topic, there are a few things, a few concerns that I get. So for instance, a PhD student might say, I'm not serious enough. Or what happens if I organize this event and no one shows up? Yeah, and if I just don't maybe have the skills actually to organize this. These are, on the one hand, legitimate concerns, but let's reframe this slightly, okay? Because you are not actually claiming to be an authority for anything if you're organizing an event. You're just offering coordination. You're just saying, okay, I'm providing this space, this room, to actually have a debate. I'm not claiming to have an authority of that field, right? This will be just a byproduct that people associate you with that field. And people will be super grateful if someone actually, engages and makes that space. So that is actually where the true value lies. Yeah, and then, I mean, there are numerous opportunities of where to go from there. You could organize a themed series about something, like for instance, method series are quite popular, cross science. You might have special issues, edited volumes. That's also some form of coordination, although I have to say they are usually a bit limited in terms of building real connections. So I would think that an event works much better at that. But what maybe comes close is also organizing symposia at very large conferences. That's quite okay as well. Of course, if you already have a network, it would also be nice to just have grant consortia together. But taking the perspective of a, let's say, PhD, early stage postdoc, it's probably that you need the visibility first in order to build that consortium. Yeah. So maybe to wrap up, right? Your career isn't only built on what you produce in terms of papers, conference, presentations, etc. But by also what you enable others to do, okay, providing that space. So this is super important, and I understand this can feel intimidating, sending out invites to basically strangers, but that's totally normal. But rest assured, based on everything that I said above, this move is simpler than it looks. You just need to take action. So let me just recap. We have discussed what the basic mechanism is behind hosting an event, of how to create visibility. I gave you a very rough blueprint of what you could do week by week for like a very first event that can happen in 5 weeks, 6 weeks time, for instance. And how you can actually use this event to create visibility. So don't wait to be invited into the field. Build at least a niche within that field first, and then you're already part of it, right? So I hope this was useful to you. If you want more practical academic career strategies, then please just subscribe and follow me. And if you do want maybe to discuss how this can be individualized to your specific situation, how this can be translated, then go book a discovery call. It's for free. And other than that, I just hope to see you back the next time I go live with some very operative academic career advice. See you then.